Welcome to this video on devolved government. We will explore the meaning, objectives, principles, and structure of devolved government, as well as the relationship and challenges between national and county governments. This video will cover the meaning, objectives, and principles of devolved government. We will also delve into the structure and functions of county government, including the County Assembly and Executive Committee. Finally, we will examine the relationship and challenges between national and county governments. Devolve means to transfer power or responsibility from a central authority to smaller, more local regions. Devolution is the process of taking power or responsibility from a central government and giving it to smaller and more local regions. Historically, the capital city, Nairobi, held the majority of power and resources, leaving rural areas underdeveloped. The idea of devolved government was conceived to bring government operations closer to the people. This aims to shift power from the center to regional levels, delegating powers to local councils with geographical jurisdiction. Article 174 of the Kenyan Constitution outlines about 10 objectives of devolution. These include promoting democratic and accountable power, fostering national unity, enhancing self-governance and public participation, and recognizing communities' right to manage their own affairs for development. Further objectives of devolution include protecting minorities' rights, promoting social and economic development through accessible services, ensuring equitable resource sharing, and decentralizing state organs from Nairobi. Devolution also enhances checks and balances, separates powers, and promotes public participation in decision-making. Devolution is based on three main principles. County governments must operate on democratic principles and the separation of powers. They must have reliable revenue sources to effectively govern and deliver services. Also, not more than 2/3 of a county government's representative body should be of the same gender. Decentralization has four main dimensions. These are administrative, which involves the transfer of responsibility; political, which is the sharing of power; fiscal, relating to financial transfers; and economic, concerning market and private sector involvement. Administration decentralization transfers responsibility for planning, financing, and managing public functions. Political decentralization is the sharing of political power among the executive, legislature, and judiciary, and between national and regional governments. Fiscal decentralization involves transferring financial resources from the central government to local agencies, allowing for direct transfers or the power to tax. Closely related is economic or market decentralization, where the government assigns responsibilities to private bodies for service provision and charging. Decentralization typically takes four forms: devolution, which is the transfer of responsibilities to local governments; deconcentration, delegation, and privatization. Devolution transfers service responsibilities to local governments, which elect officials, raise revenue, and make investment decisions. Privatization encompasses economic and market decentralization, involving the transfer of goods and services provision to the free market or public-private partnerships. Deconcentration occurs when a national government office transfers responsibilities to a field officer, who remains fully accountable to the national office. Delegation involves transferring administrative and fiscal powers to regional or local governments, or semi-autonomous bodies like parastatals, the private sector, and NGOs. Devolution has several key reasons. It curbs corruption by distributing authority and revenues, making collusion more difficult. It fosters cooperation in devolved units and allows local communities to pressure against corruption. Devolution also creates governments below the national level, boosting political participation and democratic culture. Devolution empowers communities to manage their resources, strengthening local institutions. It enhances a sense of local ownership through participation in planning and implementation. Furthermore, it is more inclusive, providing channels for expressing regional sentiments and making national policies sensitive to regional variations. It also allows for the provision of area-specific goods and services. Devolution promotes greater efficiency in public services and resource allocation. It offers an effective governance framework for advancing policies to alleviate poverty, as local institutions are better equipped to distribute resources fairly and target poverty more efficiently. Devolution encourages innovation in service delivery by incentivizing public participation in community life to resolve individual and collective choices. Despite its many advantages, devolution has disadvantages. It might not always improve governance and economic performance, depending on variables like the quality and knowledge of leaders. It could also reduce the national government's ability to redistribute resources and aid less developed regional units. If devolution rules are poorly designed, it can lead to the capture of local governments by political elites. This allows local politicians to use resources for political power through patronage. Additionally, poor planning may translate central government inefficiencies locally, resulting in resource misuse and a lack of accountability. Devolution could also pose a threat to the national political stability if subnational governments are dominated by secessionist political parties or movements. This might result in a division of the country and a lack of national cohesion. County governments are the key feature of devolution. They are the subnational governments responsible for implementing devolved functions. There are 47 county governments in Kenya. The 47 counties include Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, Lamu, Taita, Taveta, Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, Marsabit, Isiolo, Meru, Tharaka Nithi, and Embu. The list of counties continues with Kitui, Machakos, Makueni, Nyandarua, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Murang'a, Kiambu, Turkana, West Pokot, Samburu, Trans Nzoia, Uasin Gishu, Elgeyo/Marakwet, Nandi, and Baringo. The remaining counties are Laikipia, Nakuru, Narok, Kajiado, Kericho, Bomet, Kakamega, Vihiga, Bungoma, Busia, Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, Kisii, Nyamira, and Nairobi City. This map illustrates the geographical distribution of the 47 counties within the country. Let's explore the structure and functions of the county government. The county assembly and the governor are central to this structure. The governor, at the helm of the county government, is required to be a person of high integrity, selfless, transparent, and an experienced administrator and politician, knowledgeable about national and local situations. Requirements for a governor include being a public servant accountable to the people and the country. They must have lived and worked in the county long enough to know the local context in detail. High integrity, selflessness, transparency, and being an experienced administrator and politician are also essential. The governor's functions include being the chief executive of the county, appointing executive committee members with assembly approval, supervising the executive committee's functions, and preparing proposed legislation. The governor is also in charge of implementing county and national legislation at the county level and nominating the deputy governor. The county government is composed of the county assembly and the county executive. Members of the county assembly are elected directly from the ward or through proportional representation, including nominated members and representatives of marginalized groups and independent candidates. The functions of the county assembly include making and passing laws for effective county performance, playing an oversight role over the regional executive committee, and recommending the enactment of legislation within its competence. It also receives and approves plans and policies for managing county resources and developing its infrastructure. County governments are not fully independent from the central government. The president has the power to suspend errant counties for at least 3 months, but only after appointing a commission to inquire into any malpractices or allegations. Reasons for the suspension of a county government include financial malpractices, squabbling among leaders, or an inability to manage its affairs. During suspension, a caretaker committee runs county affairs, and the Senate can initiate a motion to terminate the suspension. Elections must be held after 3 months. The Constitution provides guidelines for lawmaking in county assemblies. National interests prevail over county interests in cases of conflict. Assemblies must conduct business openly, hold public sittings, and facilitate public participation in legislative and other business. The public and media should not be excluded without legitimate reasons established by the Speaker. Regional executive committees include an elected regional director or a mayor for Nairobi and their deputies, not more than 5 other members, not being members of the regional assembly, are appointed by the regional director with the assembly's approval. The regional director and deputy are elected by an electoral college of county assembly members. However, a member of the county assembly is not eligible to be elected. They hold office for a 5-year term and are eligible for 1 re-election. The mayor and deputy mayor of Nairobi are elected by more than half of the votes cast by voters residing in Nairobi. County governors and their deputies are elected by the county assembly from among its members, holding office for 5 years and eligible for re-election for 1 further term. County executive committees implement county, national, and regional laws, coordinate county administration and its departments, and coordinate administrative units within the county. They can also initiate proposed laws for enactment by the county assembly and provide periodic reports. The central government must respect the functional and institutional integrity of other government levels. It is required to assist, support, and consult other governments, and, as appropriate, implement their laws, exchange information, coordinate policies, and enhance capacity. Governments should try to solve disputes amicably. National legislation prevails over regional and county legislation if it applies uniformly throughout Kenya or is aimed at preventing unreasonable action by a region or county. National legislation is important for maintaining national security, economic unity, and common markets. It promotes economic activities across regional or county boundaries and ensures equal opportunities or access to government services. A member of a regional executive may be removed by a vote of confidence if supported by at least 1/3 of the members. The entire executive committee ceases to hold office if the assembly passes a motion against the director, deputy, and other members, supported by more than half of its members. Disqualifications for being elected to the regional assembly include holding a state or public office other than a member of a regional or county assembly, being of unsound mind, being an undischarged bankrupt, serving an imprisonment sentence of at least 6 months, or having misused or abused a state or public office. An over of the regional or county assembly may become vacant upon the member's death, written resignation, or election disqualification through a petition. The office is also vacated upon the expiry of the assembly term, missing 8 consecutive sittings without permission, removal by legislation, or joining a political party after being elected as an independent candidate. Challenges facing county governments include some being too poor to raise sufficient revenue, high populations straining resources, and evasion of levies. Other issues include misappropriation of funds, corruption, conflicts among leaders, too much central government control, and some counties being too small to operate effectively.